Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm privileged to welcome a very, very tall and senior corporate professional from New Delhi, India, Mr. Kishore Jayaraman, OBE. Kishore, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Thank you. Kishore is the President, India and South Asia for Rolls-Royce. He was earlier President and CEO of GE Energy in South Asia, and he has recently been awarded an Honorary Officer of the Order of the British Empire, OBE, by Her Majesty the Queen for services to international trade and investment, with a key focus on promotion of India-UK trade. So, Kishore, before we talk about Rolls-Royce, tell me a little bit about your own amazing journey in brief.
Well, I joined Rolls-Royce about 2012, to be exact, March 26, 2012. So I've been in the company for about 11 years now. And the fascinating thing about this is I was an industrial guy. And so primarily I was in steel mills, and I was in material handling, then I was in energy. And then I come into Rolls-Royce, and I had the wonderful privilege of working with the aviation sector. So we were into jet engines, we are in the civil aerospace jet engines, working with defense, two sectors I've never been part of, and working with the marine sector. So I think from a sectoral point of view, I've been able to go between industrials of like material handling, paper, to steel mills, and then over to energy sector, and then over to marine, defense, and aerospace. So I think it's been a wonderful experience and a very, very what should I say, fruitful journey for me so far from a sectoral point. And the foundation of my career has been in technology. So I have been in companies that were really leading edge technology providers, and I continue to serve a company which is also a leading industrial technology provider. And there's no shortage of learnings every day. When you take up these new challenges, look at new industries, new sectors, there's no shortage of learning. But I've also been in different segments of leadership. So it's been through project management, through engineering technology, through business management, and currently where I am.
Amazing.
So it's been very good.
What a great journey. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So my next few questions will be about Rolls-Royce. And let me start by asking you that Rolls-Royce has made significant commitments to reduce its carbon footprint. Could you share some of the key sustainability initiatives you are undertaking in India and South Asia?
Yes. Look, I mean, for us, we signed up to the UN 2050 Net Zero Charter as Rolls-Royce. We are very cognizant of the fact that, aviation sector is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gases. So we need to be at the forefront in order to develop the technologies that are going to be helping with the reduction of carbon emissions and helping with positioning the world into a new world, the current world into a new world where it's going to be net zero, not net zero, but eventually leading up to absolute zero. Because everybody talks about net zero. Net zero is just that how much ever we put into the environment is taken out of the environment.
Yeah.
But when you look at zero, then it's absolute zero, which means that we will not put out anything to the environment. So these are the two philosophies I think we need to look at when it comes to sustainability. And I think in that regard, globally, we have gotten into hybrid fuels now. So we're looking at SAF as the intermediate journey. We are looking at by 2030 having all our products which will be SAF compatible 100%. We are already 50%, and we'll be by 2023 50% SAF compatible. For people who don't know SAF, it's sustainable alternate fuels. And then we are looking at hydrogen as a fuel. We are looking across our businesses, and we are looking at how do we get to net zero emissions in all our plants, the factories, and how we are going to look at the future of disruptive innovation, which is our electrical technologies. But all these are not going to happen without technology and without digital being part of it. And so when you look at technology and you look at digital, there's no other place in the world except in India, where I think there's a huge amount of capability and a huge amount of capacity. And we find that our digital initiative, which we started in 2018, has yielded us tremendous advantages. Now, in terms of leveraging very young minds, and for them, it's also a passion, because for them, they are creating the world they got to live in over the next 50 years. And they're working on technologies that are going to do that. And so there's a lot of passion in the young minds. There's a lot of innovative solutions that come out of the young minds. And we leverage the experience of our people, combine them with the technology. I think, the results have been very, very good so far.
Fascinating. And Kishore, you just spoke about SAF. How do you plan to incorporate SAFs into your operations into India and South Asia? I mean, there's a lot of talk of hydrogen and a lot of other fuels.
So, I mean, right now we are looking at it as global. Our company is UK-based, headquartered. And so we look at all these technologies that are going to serve the globe, right? Yeah. And for India as well, right? For India is part of the whole equation. But when we look at it globally, we say that, look, SAF has to be compatible on all our aircraft engine products. Whether it's a defense product or whether it's a civil aerospace product. We start with civil aerospace because we have a lot of data. We have the ability to implement it faster, and the net savings in terms of carbon emissions will have the maximum impact. So that's why we're putting it, starting over there and transmitting it over into our other businesses. Now, when we look at this thing, first we said 2030, by the end of 2030, all our products and services will be 100% SAF compatible, right? Then we said that new products that are going to come out will be compatible fully. Our plants, our facilities, everything will be compatible towards net zero emissions by 2030. But in this whole equation, now we have won this Air India order, which happened earlier part of this year. The XWB engines that are going to be in the Air India aircraft, the Airbus 1000, 350-1000 and the 350-900. These are the two aircraft models that are coming into India with Tatas and Air India. And in those, the engines, when they come in, will already be SAF compatible. So India is already getting engines which are going to be sustainable into the future. There's going to be no refitting or this thing, so it's already coming in with it. So that is the advantage we are giving to India through this programs that have evolved over some time. But as we go forward, I think we will continue to do what is required for India as we sell products and services into India. There's a lot of opportunities with our defense, right? We do a lot of work with the Air Force, Navy, and the Coast Guard. We'll be looking at opportunities there. And we are also working on the Army, and so our Arjun tanks, Mark 1 is our engines. We're looking at the next wave of tanks, technology, engine technology. We'll look at what we can do sustainably there. Then beyond as well. I mean, when you look at it, tomorrow when we have an electric aircraft, definitely technology digital comes from India, but also how will those aircrafts, business jets, how will business jets come into India? What sort of sustainability products will we have in the business jets? All those we keep looking at it, both from an India perspective, but not only India perspective, it's all global in nature, because this is about the core technology.
Thank you. What a great response. Thank you. The other aspect that I've often read about Rolls-Royce is the incredible amount of innovation that happens in your organization. How does Rolls-Royce foster a culture of innovation within its own organization?
Yeah, I think when we look at innovation, it is about an incremental change that happens, whether it be products, services, factories, etc. I think the first thing the company had to do was to, look around in the world, in the globe, what is happening and what is it that can kind of come and get us in a non-competitive position. So for us to be competitive, it is going to be extremely important that we are not only adopting the latest technologies, but we are adapting ourselves to the future technologies.
Okay.
Right? And the sustainability is a classic example. So when you think about adopting technologies today and adapting to future technologies, it becomes an automatic. Innovation becomes part of the culture. Innovation becomes part of the DNA. We don't have to talk to people, we got to innovate. We talk to people about how do we get better. And when we talk about getting better, automatically it becomes innovation.
Well said.
Right? So I think that exists for us. And that exists for us. And we are always looking at opportunities for us to be that little bit better.
Well said. And Kishore, are there any particular challenges unique to this region that drive the need for innovation in your industry?
Well, India is fast changing. I mean, the India I knew when I was growing up to the India that I'm living in today is like, universes apart.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say planets apart, universes apart, right? And I think this comes from a mindset change. This is today what we see in India is not about us saying, "Oh, I got to do this because somebody else in the world is doing it." I think a lot of things we do today are saying, "I got to do this because this is in our own interest." And many of the visionary statements that have come about from our Prime Minister and attempts towards implementing all this, I think it is a very genuine effort by the masses. The entire ecosystem is bought into doing this for India, which is a very, very big change. It is not a command from the top. It is kind of a collaboration with everybody. And I think that is what is a huge change in India. The other thing is the young minds are very, very ambitious. They know what is around them everywhere else in the world, what is the art of the possible. And so they are saying, if that is the art of the possible, how can I become the best at the art of the possible?
Right.
So not only are they not comparing and contrasting, they also have an ability to improve upon the same. And so I see India a very different kind of an environment. No longer are we content. More importantly, we are challenging ourselves at all levels. But we have a huge population base, as everyone knows, the largest population in the world in a single country. So it is going to change, is always a little bit, slower. But once change happens, also the momentum is also tremendous. And when the momentum is very huge, even though it is slow, stopping this momentum is going to take a long time.
Absolutely.
So that's why the future looks bright.
Well said. My next question is on electric and hybrid propulsion systems. You spoke very briefly about electric. Electric and hybrid propulsion systems are gaining prominence. How are you adapting to this trend? And what are your views on the future of electrification in various, automobile, aerospace and other systems?
So, we flew the first aircraft, all electric aircraft.
Absolutely.
In the world. And it's called as a spirit of innovation. And it basically flew at a speed of about 347 miles per hour, if I'm correct. I get a little confused between 47 and 87 on that, but I think it's about 350 miles an hour. And I think, we didn't stop there, right? I mean, the first flight that took place, it was very successful. And then now we are looking at how do we do longer distances with it. The technologies that have to go into it are not the question. The technologies can be made available and developed. The challenge with these things is because this involves safety of people when we are transporting people. This involves reliability of the technology safely over a period of time. And the third thing is it's going to be the efficiencies, whether it be economic efficiency or it is going to be just the ability of the batteries to sustain the journeys longer. And so these are all things that are going to come about. These are all things, and I think there will be right now, the battery technology is just moving forward. There will be a tipping point where all of a sudden you'll see that everywhere, everybody is talking about electric aircraft. So it will go through that phase. SAF will happen. Maybe a hybrid electric will happen. And then there'll be an electric out there, sometime in the future. I think this is a very, very, a journey that is going to take some time. But it is a journey that we are already on. And it is a journey that we will eventually see through to the very end. But that's just the aerospace side, right? And now you look at the marine side, it lends itself easier. The automobile sector went electric because it's very easy. I mean, your car stops on the side of the road, you have no problems. You just get down and call an Uber or something else. But when an aircraft runs out of battery charge, we got a problem, right? So I think, but marine technologies are similar. Marine technologies are similar. We can put hybrid easily and then go to all electric easier because then it's a question of batteries. But then the marine technologies, if we go into cargo world, you're looking at huge amounts of power requirements. And those become the challenge in the marine.
Interesting.
The challenges are always there for us to excel, but it doesn't mean we will not get there.
Well said. Well said. So one more question relating to Rolls-Royce, and then I want a few questions on India-UK trade. An organization like Rolls-Royce, which has, led the world in so many different areas, I'd love to get your perspective on how do you foster a diverse and inclusive workforce, and why is diversity important in your industry?
Well, I think, look, at the end of the day, we are human beings. I'd like to see us as human beings instead of us being, gender, caste, creed, etc., classifying ourselves. Now, when you look at us as human beings and you start operating like human beings, diversity will not even be an English word anymore, right? Because we are all one.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we don't live in that world. We are in a world where today it is also very, very, it is very important to make sure that everyone is included. And inclusion, even amongst the male members of the community, there has to be inclusion between the strong and the weak. There has to be inclusion between the capable and the less capable. So I think there's going to be a lot of these kinds of inclusion activities that have to be fostered by leadership. The leader of the future is not going to be the one that's going to do the command and control. The leader of the future is going to be the one that can coach and collaborate.
Right.
And I believe in that realm of things, in diversity, gender diversity takes the first preference. Now we have diversity in terms of preferences of people, lifestyles.
Yeah.
And I think we will have to be, at the end of the day, it is not the state of the mind today. Today, it is still seen as you versus me, them versus us. I think if we can get to that state where it is us as a professional, us as a contributor to society, we'll all be fine. But it's a journey we have started. This is not a journey that's going to end, I don't believe, in my own lifetime. But I do believe very strongly that this is a journey that will forever continue and evolve, only to take us to that better place.
Fascinating. So, Kishore, 2 or 3 questions now on India-UK trade. Your recognition was on account of the work that you have done on the promotion of India-UK trade. And there's been a lot of discussion going on the FTA to be signed, and all over the country and all over the world, it's been talked about. My first question to you is, what are some of the barriers or challenges that businesses face while doing business between India and the UK, and what can be done to mitigate this?
I wouldn't call it barriers.
Okay.
I don't think there are barriers anymore. Right?
We'll drop barriers, challenges.
I think India is at the point. I mean, there used to be a time when we used to have at the end of the day, government has to be a part of business.
Absolutely.
And it's a question of what is the involvement of the government, with which business, what is the involvement of the government in order to build commerce between two nations, what is the involvement of the government in order to pave the way to the future business interests. And FTA is nothing but paving the way for future business interests. And now when you look at today, right, for us as Rolls-Royce in India, our biggest initiative that we want to be able to complete is to build an aircraft engine technology with India, with IP in India, to give the ability for India to achieve its true Atmanirbhar status. And for that, we cannot do that without the support of the UK MOD.
Right.
Neither can we do it without the support of the Indian MOD. And so we've been working for years in this project or program that everybody understands the importance of this in order to build that strategic bridge into the future between UK and India. So we get tremendous support from the UK government in this regard. And so does the Indian government support us in saying this seems to be the right project for Atmanirbhar. So it's a classic example of what I've been able to live through over the last 5-6 years. And we are very hopeful that we'll see the end of the tunnel here and we'll be able to start work on something very, very interesting and futuristic here with India. Right? That said, that is one piece of things, which is defense, which is always a very critical thing in the world we live in today. But that said, there are many other sectors. Right? I mean, there's business services, there's transportation, there's infrastructure, there's food and beverage. So you look at it, there are opportunities on both sides. Right? And so I believe that the UK trade between India and the trade between India and UK has always been moving forward. I don't see anything that has made it move backwards at all. And so has the trade between India and the US, so has the trade between. So trade, and the reason for that is not the other countries. The reason for that is India. Because India is becoming more and more open. India is becoming more and more an environment, business-friendly environment. India is becoming more and more of thinking about the future by the government. India is becoming better and better with academia. So the industry, academia, government, participation becomes a lot easier. And all these things are converging us towards having better trade relationships globally. But then the little bit of thing that takes UK over is our rich history with you.
Absolutely.
Right? For whatever is said, good and bad, many people will debate this, debate that, but at the end of the day, there is a genuine family sort of a relationship with the UK.
Absolutely.
And I think that family sort of a relationship is what will help our trade continue to flourish.
Well said. So my last question to you, Kishore, and I wanted to get your perspective on the startup. A lot of talked about startups in India, of course, are very, very large. A lot of talked about startups in India and the US. I don't read too much about startups with collaborating or innovating with UK. I'd love to get your perspective on how are startups and innovative companies from UK and India contributing to the trade dynamics?
I think I agree with you. Yes, that environment can be much faster. And I think the question with startups is always a need versus what will form the right mix for it to take off. Right? If you notice, even the startups, I believe, in India today, we are looking at drones. We are looking at a lot of defense startups in multiple areas. We are looking at electrification, electric startups, energy startups. So, you have a situation where the startups entrepreneurship in UK versus India, there might be a little bit of a gap as to where what is needed and how it will progress further. So it's going to be only with countries at a certain point in time with the certain needs that kind of match, the wavelengths have to match. And so as we look at it, we are constantly looking at opportunities to say, look, you have energy, electric, digital, right? All these things who have startups. But another thing that also comes into play, it's not like the world is before, like before we say, oh, there's UK, or there's US, or there's Russia.
Yeah.
The world is now actually one big melting pot.
Correct.
In terms of entrepreneurships and startups.
Yeah.
So the availability of all these startups around the world is plenty. Right? I mean, if we can go to Kazakhstan, we'll find opportunities to partner on a startup between Kazakhstan and India. Right? Yeah. And I think that is what is going on. And I think as we go forward, there will be more focus put on it to say, oh, these areas, I think this collaboration will help us better. And I think that little bit of a conduits that need to be prepared for startup environments to collaborate will depend on the small sectors that are going to become visible for the startup environments to thrive. And we constantly keep looking at it, but it is not to say there is none, but it is not to say that, oh my God, this is the only country we're doing with.
Absolutely.
But can it be better? I think absolutely yes. Absolutely yes.
Well said. And on that note, Kishore, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me. Thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule for this 25 minutes that you spent with the brand called You. Thank you for talking to me about so many different aspects of Rolls-Royce, what you're doing in the areas of sustainability, in the areas of innovation, in the area of electric and hybrid propulsion systems. Thank you also for speaking to me. I could have carried on much longer on India-UK trade, but I think I respect your time. Thank you very much again, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.